The New Jersey Devils have the second overall pick in this week's NHL Draft. Trey Matthews is here to talk about what direction the Devils may go in and what to expect from them this offseason. All that and more coming up on the Locked On NHL Podcast.
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back to the Locked On NHL podcast. Gil Martin, glad to be with you, and thank you for making Locked On NHL your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. My pleasure to welcome back to the show the host of Locked On Devils, Trey Matthews. And Trey, happy 4th of July to you.
Thank you. Got my Team USA hat repping right now. 4th of July. Happy birthday, America.
There you go.
And, I currently reside in Philadelphia, so one of the birthplaces of America. So
that's right.
Happy 4th to everyone who celebrates.
Absolutely. Big week coming up for your New Jersey Devils. They have the second overall pick in the draft, and this is a pretty big decision. New Jersey, a team with a lot of young talent. Who do you think they want to add, and who do you think they will be adding with this second overall pick?
Well, if you were to ask me like a week or two ago, I would have said Juraj Salfkovski with ease. In fact, I said it in our Locked On NHL mock draft that the New Jersey Devils would select Juraj Salfkovski, and I thought that the consensus first overall pick was Shane Wright. But in more recent days, people have been saying that Shane Wright might fall to number 2. I'm even seeing some a lot like mock drafts saying that he's going to fall to number 4. I don't know how true that is or not, but ultimately it's just like, if Shane Wright were to not go first overall, then we would pick him up. But I think the favorite right now as we stand, because I'm just banking on the fact that maybe Shane Wright will still go number 1, would be Juraj Salfkovski out of Slovakia. And I think he would be a great addition for the New Jersey Devils. And I think that's definitely someone to keep an eye out if you're the New Jersey Devils. I think he can definitely develop in the right direction. He's NHL ready. We saw what he did in the Olympics. We saw what he did in the World Champions, held his ground against other NHL players. So ultimately, the player that I have my eye on personally is Salfkovski.
And what is it that his skill set would bring to the Devils right now if he were to be picked by them second overall?
Well, like I said, he's NHL ready. He's a big guy. He can kind of play sort of like a power forward. He has great handles. We saw what he did in the Olympics. So I think he led everyone in points. He was team MVP, come world champions when, NHL players were representing their respective countries. He was able to hold his ground. And I think, between him and Shane Wright, I believe Salfkovski is the favorite to right now be the most NHL ready and to make an impact with someone like the New Jersey Devils, because we have a pipeline of a lot of young players. And the reason why I would want Salfkovski is just because I believe with Jack Hughes, Nico Hischier, and also Dawson Mercer, I feel like the New Jersey Devils are kind of set at the center position in terms of overall development. I'm not saying that I would not want Shane Wright. I'm just saying let's get another winger to develop alongside with Alexander Holtz or, players of that nature, because I feel as though it's time for the New Jersey Devils to get more scoring options up and down their lineup a little bit more. And I feel as though Salfkovski, I wouldn't be surprised if he makes the New Jersey Devils roster if he was hypothetically picked up by the New Jersey Devils.
What are the odds, if any, that New Jersey decides to trade this pick?
Let's see, about as high as my chances of going to Pluto and having dinner with the Pope. So it could happen, but very unlikely. So I don't think they're going to trade the second overall pick. They were in the running for possibly getting Kevin Fiala. I feel as though if that draft pick was at number 5 or a little later on, they would be more willing to part ways with it, because I don't think this is this deep of a draft class. That's based on what I've been hearing. I hear that outside of top 3, top 5, things of that nature, this isn't really a deep draft class. So I think the New Jersey Devils would have been, more than content to move on with it. But since we got lucky, we got the second overall pick, it would be really hard to part ways with it. I think someone that they would want to possibly get, or a player of his caliber, would have to be Matthew Tkachuk. But we know that's not going to happen. So, ultimately, I just think that we're going to hold on to that. We're going to hold on to that second overall pick, whether it's Shane Wright or Juraj Salfkovski. Bob McKenzie. I don't know if anyone's been aware of this, but the number one ranked player in final rankings last 10 years has gone number one, according to Bob McKenzie. So when he puts out his mock draft and he says this player is going first overall, more likely than not, that player is going first overall. Now, he has to be wrong sooner or later. So, but the past 10 years, the first overall pick based on his mock draft usually goes number one. So I would really want Juraj Salfkovski to come to the New Jersey Devils. But, if we're able to get Shane Wright, I think we can just, laugh our way to the bank and just say, hey, we also got to steal with Shane Wright. So either way, going back to what you said, there's no way they're going to trade the second overall pick. Just no way. I was shopping it in our group chat. I was saying, like, what's your best offer? Locked On Leafs gave me an offer that involved William Nylander. There was a pretty decent trade package, but ultimately, in reality, New Jersey Devils, they hold on to that second overall pick.
Now, you've talked before we started recording about this team maybe wanting to, or you wanting this team to make a big splash kind of move this offseason. What do you have in mind, and why?
Johnny Hockey is on the way. Johnny Hockey is on the way. That's the player I have my eyes set. Johnny Gaudreau, because I hear that he wants to come back home to the East Coast because I believe it has to do with a family matter or something like that. So I think there's a good chance that Johnny Gaudreau could sign with the New Jersey Devils. We have the cap space. We have the potential to take our organization to the next level, and he could be that player that the New Jersey Devils have their eye on. I have my eye set on him. I would love to have Johnny Hockey on this team. Now, a lot of people have their concerns, especially since, getting up there in age just a little bit, still in his late 20s, I believe. But, because if we were to sign him long term, we would have him, like, I guess till his mid 30s. But I'm just saying, like, his worst is still better than most of the Devils' best. Just saying, so, like, if he gives me like 70 to 80 points, I'm okay with that, quite honestly. Or I'll go even lower, like 60 to 80 points. I'm okay with that. I just want more scoring options throughout the lineups for the New Jersey Devils.
What other needs do you think this team will look to fill this offseason? Because obviously Devils missing out on the playoffs, but a lot of young talent. What gets them to the next level?
Goaltending. That's also another priority. I'm hearing rumors that maybe they're going to try to look at Jack Campbell, see what he could potentially bring, or Billy Husso. I hear that the Devils are also big on him. I believe Husso might go back to the Blues, however, but ultimately that's the big hole that needs to, be filled for the New Jersey Devils, because we were playing musical chairs with our goalie situation last year. We had to go through like 7 or so goalies. Like, we brought up Nico Dawes, Akira Schmid, Jonathan Bernier got hurt, Mackenzie Blackwood got hurt. It was a complete mess. We had to go to an emergency backup goalie at one point in January, who's appeared on my show before. He's a great guy, but still, going through that course of goalies and just giving up that many goals. And then, we took a chance on a few goalies, like, Andrew Hammond, but he didn't really turn out too well. His only silver lining this season was his outing against the Vegas Golden Knights, which really hurt Vegas's chances of going to the playoffs this year. But other than that, goalies has been the huge issue for New Jersey Devils. Now, my thing is, like, you need to find a goalie. I don't care if it's a starter or a backup. I'm okay if either Mackenzie Blackwood is our starter next year, or, we have to kick him to a backup role. But the 3 criteria that I'm looking for are stability, someone who has experience, and someone who can act as a mentor towards Mackenzie Blackwood, because I feel as though we've robbed Blackwood of that the last few years, especially with Corey Crawford retiring abruptly, or Jonathan Bernier getting hurt early on in the season and being shut down. So ultimately, that's the main priority for New Jersey Devils moving forward.
All right, Trey, why don't you tell our viewers and our listeners where they could find the podcast and where they could find you on social media?
Well, you can find Locked On Devils wherever you get your podcast from, whether that's on YouTube. By the way, subscriber count is going up, so make sure you head over there and subscribe. Trying to get up to 1,000 subscribers before the start of the season, and that's one of my goals. So help me get there. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Audacity, whatever the case might be, wherever you get your podcast from, that's where you can find it. Locked On Devils. You can also find the show on Twitter at Locked On Devils, and you can find me on Twitter at TreyMatt4. So TreyMatt and the number 4.
All right, Trey, always a pleasure. Thanks again for joining us.
Thanks, Gil.
Today's episode is brought to you by your friends at BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including Major League Baseball, and you got NBA futures, NFL futures, all kinds of things going on. NHL Draft coming up. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering information, including live betting, esports, and more. And BetOnline.net remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite sports and events, including MMA, boxing, tennis, and golf. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts.